Hello everyone, this is your friend Manish Rana. I am a final year MBBS student and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So the topic for today's video is clinical approach to a case of ascites. But before starting the video, first of all we will talk about the final year MBBS students of Uttar Pradesh. Since the government has ordered to open college from 28th June, we are here, and since the cases are increasing day by day, so we are quarantined right now. So let's use this quarantine time, since we are going to get very less exposure to clinical cases this year. And if you feel that you have wasted your lockdown time, then this is the video for you. So use this video and watch the video till the end. The reference for this video is Harrison's Principle of Internal Medicine, MacLeod's clinical book. So this video is important for each and every medico. And you all know that final year students, we are going through this tough time, but we have to give exams and we have to appear exams as each and every patient. Till last time of our practice, we'll take our exam. So let's continue with today's video. Approach to a patient of ascites. Ascites is the presence of free fluid in the abdominal or the peritoneal cavity. As you can see in the picture, the abdomen is distended due to the fluid accumulation in the peritoneal cavity. Now, this video is basically exam oriented, so the viva question must be that what are the causes of abdominal distension. So we are talking about standard. So there are 6 F's. Number 1, it is fat. 2, fluid. 3rd, feces. 4th, flatus. 5th, fetus. And 6th is any fetal growth. Fat may be due to obesity or Cushing syndrome, which is hypercortisolemia. And fluid, which can be inflammatory or non-inflammatory. Feces. Feces, it is the retention of feces in the bowel in cases of severe constipation or in cases of intestinal obstruction. Flatus, it is the intestinal gas. As the most commonly present gases are oxygen, nitrogen, which basically occurs or present in the gut due to aerophagia. But carbon dioxide, hydrogen and methane, they are basically due to the bacterial fermentation that undergo inside the bowel. And the next is fetus. In case of pregnancy, the abdominal distension first noticed between 12 to 14 weeks, that is approximately 3 months. Now fetal growth, it may be any neoplasm, abscess, cyst or any organomegaly. Next, starting with the history, the points to be asked in the history, you can either note down them or you can just DM me on my Instagram. I'll send you the PDF there. So let's begin with these following points. First, you have to ask about the onset, then the past history of jaundice, hematemesis, melena, alcoholism, pain and tenderness. The causes, probable causes are given in front of the text because these are the negative history which will be asked in our vivas. Now the next is loss of appetite, which is a very cardinal feature in tuberculosis and malignant ascites. Next is the loss of weight, very commonly seen in tuberculosis, malignancies, cirrhosis of liver due to loss of appetite. Then cough with or without hemoptysis. This is basically correlating with the portal hypertension and variceal bleed. Now swelling of the leg and face. Since ascites may occur due to CA, that is cardiac cause, nephrotic cause, or it may occur due to liver cause. So respiratory distress, basically in case of huge ascites, there is so much fluid in the peritoneum, the diaphragm can't go down and there is breathing difficulty to the patient. Prolonged diarrhea, that is protein losing enteropathy, that is irritable bowel syndromes, and any sort of micturition, oliguria or paresthesias. Now next, the points to be asked in past history, these are basically ruling out the various differentials like chronic alcoholism or chronic liver disease. So these you have to mention these in your history. Now let's begin with the examination. First, the general physical examination is must. We will see the build of the patient and other points like consciousness level of the patient, then the vitals, and then the PICL, that is pallor icterus, cyanosis, clubbing, lymphadenopathy. So the major findings that we have to show in general physical examination is ascites, that is abdominal distension. We have to show it. Then shifting to the local examination. Local examination, you can see in this slide that abdominal local examination starts with the inspection. What you will see, the skin over the abdomen will be distended. You have to mention it there. Then you can copy these points and you have to mention them in your history. Now I will show you the video of demonstration of the shifting dullness and fluid thrill. Shifting dullness is a diagnostic sign in case of ascites, and fluid thrill can also present in some other cases. So let's begin.
For ascites, we will percuss from the midline towards the flanks, and we will see the dullness in the flanks representing the fluid. Now we will ask the patient to turn to the other side. उस तरफ हो जाइए एक बारी. Keeping our finger on the same side. We will wait for 10 seconds and then we will percuss here. So the initial dullness will become tympanic. So fluid has shifted to the other side. The second sign is, सीधे हो जाइए. अब आप अपना हाथ यहाँ पर रख लीजिए ऐसे, बिल्कुल ऐसे. So this is the fluid thrill. We will keep the other hand, one hand here, and from the other side we will tap and we will feel the thrill on the other side. Hand is kept to prevent the vibration of the skin transmitted to the other side. ठीक है.
Now, what are other signs that are seen in a patient of ascites? See, this is a very common question that is asked during Viva, so let's cover it here. Signs of chronic liver disease. You have to think about signs of chronic liver disease. The first sign comes to your mind is jaundice. Then spider nevi, it is basically the dilatation in the periumbilical area. Then any organomegaly, basically splenomegaly or hepatomegaly. Then gynecomastia, bruising, edema, hair loss, pigmentation. All these are signs of chronic liver failure. Then generalized swelling over the body, basically anasarca, can be commonly seen in nephrotic syndrome. Then signs of CHF and constrictive pericarditis. The signs are engorged veins in the neck and leg edema. Coming to the next question, which is very common, that is causes of ascites with anasarca, that is generalized body swelling. You keep noting these points or I'll just provide you the PDF. The points are CHF, congestive heart failure, nephrotic syndrome, and hypoproteinemia in with severe anemia. It is basically nutritional in origin. Moving to the next slide, that causes of hepatomegaly with ascites. Very commonly asked, it is the first we have to answer because it is the most common cause, that is hepatoma with secondary in peritoneum or in liver. Then congestive heart failure, pericarditis, and in India tuberculosis is one of the most common cause of ascites with organomegaly. Now causes of splenomegaly with ascites. Just remember cirrhosis of liver, which ultimately leads to portal hypertension. And then lymphoma, leukemia can be. Now causes of hepatosplenomegaly with ascites. This is very important and easy to remember. Just remember hemochromatosis and CML or disseminated TB are always diagnosis. Now according to the 20th edition of Harrison, the absence of any abdominal dullness, however, does not exclude ascites because minimum amount required for demonstrating the clinical signs is 1500 ml. It is a safe procedure as in cases of chronic liver disease there obviously occur coagulopathy due to loss of essential proteins and clotting factors. So paracentesis is a safe procedure. This can be done in patients. Now these are the typical viva questions, that minimal fluid which are required for ascites, that is to demonstrate the fluid thrill, is more than 2 liters. That is, if there is tension at ascites only, then you can demonstrate fluid thrill. And shifting dullness over 1 liter, flank are full in more than 500 ml of fluid. Pleural effusion is because if there is fluid more than 500 ml in abdominal cavity, then there may be pleural effusion. Now, what is the cause of ascites? Don't tell them that it is exudative or transurative. Just you have to mention SAG score, that is serum albumin minus ascitic albumin. Basically, it is a gradient. It is the difference between these two. It is very important as it differentiates between the portal hypertension and non-portal hypertension cause of ascites. It is basically the correlation between the pressures of hepatic sinusoids that is present in the liver and hepatic venous pressure gradient. And one more important point, that diuresis does not cause any change in SAG score because the treatment of choice in ascites is diuretics. So now paracentesis, the best site for paracentesis is left lower abdominal quadrant at the junction of medial 2/3 and lateral 1/3 of the spino-umbilical line. You have to mention this if it is asked. Spino-umbilical line is basically you just draw a line from umbilicus to the anterior superior iliac spine and just take the medial 2/3 and lateral 1/3. Now the reason for this site is that it is less vascular and it has deep pockets of fluid, so you can extract very appropriate quantity of fluid. Now what is the size of needle? You can see it in the slide next. Now what are the causes of ascites on the basis of SAG score? If the SAG score comes more than or equal to 1.1 gram per deciliter, then you have to go for ascitic protein. If it is less than 2.5 gram per deciliter, then the cause is basically sinusoidal. So it may be cirrhosis, it may be late stage of Budd-Chiari syndrome and massive liver metastasis. Then if ascitic protein is more than 2.5 gram per deciliter, then these are the causes. If there is SAG score less than 1.1 gram per deciliter, then biliary leak, nephrotic syndrome and pancreatitis, these may be very common findings. Now the prevalence of ascites, basically 84% of the patient of ascites develop ascites due to cirrhosis, and rest cardiac, peritoneal carcinomas and mixed ascites are seen in 10 to 15% of the cases. Now investigations, very important, because these are only important when you have to rule out the cause of the disease. You can treat ascites, but you cannot properly or completely remove this ascites from recurrence, because if you don't treat the cause of the ascites. Now X-ray is basically very cheap and easily available investigation, and it can rule out so many things as you can see in the slide. Then USG whole abdomen, it is very important as you can see hepato and splenonodular liver. Now drawbacks of ultrasound whole abdomen is that it cannot rule out the retroperitoneal pathologies. So for that we have to go for CT abdomen. CT abdomen can detect pancreatic disease and advanced liver disease. Now coming to lab investigations. For lab investigations you have to take minimum of 50 per ml fluid, and you have to go for liver function test, that is serum albumin, prothrombin time, and with the help of international normalized ratio. Now how can you assess color of ascitic fluid and relate it with the etiology? If the fluid is serous or watery in consistency, it is basically non-inflammatory. And there we have a MCQ question, milky or chylous ascitic fluid is seen when there is triglyceride levels more than 200 mg per deciliter in ascitic fluid. The cause is surgical disruption of lymphatics, and non-surgically it is also seen in some cases of cirrhosis. Now hemorrhagic, that is red colored ascitic fluid, seen in 3 T's, that is trauma, TB and tumor. Now black, it is seen in pancreatic necrosis, and brown seen in perforated biliary tracts. Now CBC, very important, as you have to each parameter show some particular disease, as in high ESR conditions basically inflammatory response is increased in body. TB very commonly. Now leukocytosis is basically seen in pyogenic infections. Pancytopenia with splenomegaly is seen in hypersplenism. For acute pancreatitis, which often lead to peritonitis, we have to go for serum amylase and lipase. Hepatic venous pressure gradient, that is portal hypertension. Now we come to liver biopsy. Liver biopsy is basically आपको अपने जिगर का टुकड़ा देना है. So to confirm the diagnosis, it is a gold standard. And ascitic fluid, if you go for tuberculosis, then you have to go for AFB staining, that is acid fast bacilli staining. But it is very less sensitive, only 0 to 3% cases where you can detect it through AFB staining. Then you have to go for culture sensitivity, good results, that is 35 to 50%, but you can surely more than 95% surety can occur if you have a patient without cirrhosis and you go for ADA, adenosine deaminase test, then you will 90% confirm the acid fast bacilli. Now it is very important, if you reach this stage of viva, the examiner asks you what is your diagnosis and why is it ascites, then we have to tell the points in favor of diagnosis. Number 1, we have to tell that generalized swelling over abdomen, particularly the flanks are full. Second, there is smiling umbilicus, that umbilicus is everted with a transverse slit. Third is maximum girth of abdomen is at the level of umbilicus. Then shifting dullness is present, fluid thrill is present. So anatomically, since the fluid is in peritoneum, it is ascites. Pathologically, it may be inflammatory and non-inflammatory, and etiology will be based on the clinical lab investigations. So it may be cirrhosis, nephrotic syndrome or CHF. Now there are complications of ascites. We just have to remember the most important, that is spontaneous bacterial peritonitis. And then rest are given here, you can see them. And treatment is basically sodium restriction and diuretics, which are commonly used, furosemide, spironolactones. Spironolactone has a limitation, that is causes hyponatremia and hyperkalemia and painful gynecomastia, so it can be replaced by amiloride. Fluid intake may be restricted in patients with hyponatremia, and beta blockers are used in variceal bleeds to prevent them. And in refractory cases of ascites, that is where the ascites is occurring recurrently, then we have to go for large volume paracentesis, that is you can only remove 500 to 700 ml of fluid in 24 hours. Now LVP is always has to be supplemented with IV albumin, because there is so much loss of protein and albumin through the ascitic tap. And the next is surgical method, that is TIPS, transjugular intrahepatic peritoneal shunt. So guys, this is the end of this video, and if you appreciate my work, please do subscribe to my channel, because one subscription won't affect your YouTube, but it is a great motivation for me if you subscribe my channel. Do like, share with your friends, all your final year MBBS students, all your medicos. Thank you for watching.